Good evening, everyone. This is Steve with Real Progressives, and it seems that Malia, Obama, got caught smoking a J at Lollapalooza up in Chicago. Who cares, right? No big deal. I agree. It's not a big deal. But Daddy has been very instrumental in keeping the drug laws alive and well, fighting the drug war alive and well, fighting the war on weed with a lot of gusto. Now, there was a point in time where Obama said we got bigger fish to fry. We're not gonna sweat marijuana. But he didn't really hold up on that. His peeps went hard after dispensaries. They went hard after casual pot users. There was all the no-knock raids. There was tons of civil forfeiture. Civil forfeiture is when they take stuff of yours without even a trial and they keep it and you never get it back. They could seize your bank accounts. They could seize your home. They could seize your car. They could seize anything. And lots of people, our jails are full of marijuana users right now. Full of marijuana users. Potheads. And once you get in the system, then you've got the box. Now all of a sudden you can't get a job. Now all of a sudden you've got to go to work with the smear. And you're like relegated to automatically second-class citizen. There are so many domino effects of the drug war. I've talked about this before. But not with the king of the drug war having his daughter caught going on camera out at Lollapalooza. Now, it was probably some right-wing hack trying to get some sort of jolly off of catching the first daughter in action. I don't really care about that. I think everybody should be able to smoke weed whenever they feel like smoking weed. And I don't think they should have to apologize or carry a stigma about it. I think pot is about as natural as breathing if you think about it right. Pot is more natural than drinking cow's milk. But the reality is that Daddy-O has been making a habit of jailing potheads for an awful long time. Rolling Stone wrote an article back in 2012, I think, called Obama's War on Pot. The Nation picked it up, and several other magazines picked it up. And if you go to places, that cover marijuana laws and the push for legalization, you see that they rank Obama in one of the worst presidents ever as it pertains to the drug war or as it pertains to marijuana. Now, here recently, let's give the man a little bit of credit. He hasn't gone into Colorado and smoked the place out. He hasn't gone into Seattle and Washington State and gone crazy, or Oregon or several of the other states that have decriminalized or made it legal to sell. However, there are jail cells filled with people doing nothing more than what his daughter did at Lollapalooza. He's not signing any laws into effect for amnesty. He's not releasing people. I mean, he's not going out there and expunging records. These people are carrying the scarlet letter throughout their entire life. Now, you get a 10-year rap, all of a sudden, your employers are saying, well, have you been arrested for anything in the last 10 years? And it's like, oh, crap. And then they send it out for a background check, and if you lie, they're going to get you, and you're going to not get that job. There's so many laws that the Clintons put in effect that talked about felony drug possession knocking you out of federal housing, knocking you out of student loans, knocking you out of food stamps, knocking you out of welfare, on and on and on. They have been cruel in exacting their price on casual people who happen to use marijuana. The war on people who happen to smoke a doobie every now and then. And Obama has been a huge, huge drug war champion. So what's going to happen? Do you think Malia will go to jail? Do you think Malia will get anything? Or do you think Daddy and Mommy will sit her down and say, hey, you're making us look bad in the press, girl? I think that's about all that'll happen. She's not going to have to go on a jail by jail by jail tour to apologize to everybody stuck behind bars. She's not going to have to go to all the kids who are without their parents because they're in behind bars. The mom and dad aren't going to give her that kind of punishment. He's not going to go on a tour apologizing to everybody. He's allowed to go to jail. This is what oligarchy looks like. This is what happened with Clinton's emails. There is one set of rules for the elite, and there's another set of rules for you and me. We're not in the club. And watching these cute little girls in their friggin' $5,000 outfits blowing kisses at the camera while they're huffing a J. I don't know, man. It'd be cool if she could go to jail and she was trying to be a little edgy. But it's not cool that she can go, ha ha ha, I can smoke weed and not a damn thing's going to happen to the president's daughter. So when we look at all the different rules and laws and the way that everything in our country is lined up, the rich get richer, the poor get poorer, the poor get more distraught. And what I mean by poor, I'm not talking about like friggin' scraping up shit off the ground trying to get a chunk of dial for something to eat. We're talking about middle class people going to jail. We're talking about people that look like Malia who are driving down the road who get pulled over by the police. We're talking about people who get shot for having a wide nose, for not being respectful. But there's Malia hanging out at Lollapalooza, part of the new Choom gang, which would be fantabulous if he was actually fighting to legalize marijuana. But he's not. He's part of that cabal. He's part of that gang that greases the palms of the drug war industry, drug testing industry, the businesses that use that as a way to create a second class of citizen. So when you look at this, what do you think? Do you think the media should be caring about Malia? Do you think it should leave her alone? Poor first girl, she gets so much scrutiny. Is it a cry for help? Is it a cry for attention? She just like getting high? I don't blame her on any of the above. But I do want to see people released from jails. How about you? I'd like to see the Obama apology tour involve releasing all non-violent offenders today. I would like to see him make a big speech talking about how so many kids smoke marijuana today, it shouldn't be a crime. Not that we're okay with kids smoking weed, but that it should not be a crime. I mean, think about it. He's going to stay silent on this to cover his own reputation. He's not going to sit there and speak out for the millions behind bars. Maybe we should reach out to Michelle Alexander and see if we can get her to talk about the new Jim Crow so that they understand what it's like to be an average person dealing with profiling, dealing with draconian laws about marijuana. And think about it. You can go across one state line and everything's okay. But right here, you get a J, you go to jail. You got to pee in a cup. On and on. What, to type on your computer and email? You got to get drug tested to sit in a cubicle? Are you freaking kidding me? So, Obama's going to get away with it. I mean, he didn't do it. Well, he did do it. He snorted coke. He smoked reefer. He did all kinds of stuff that many of us have done too. Only difference is he's president, and many of us are still checking the box. Many of us are still having to answer questions about our alleged marijuana use. Many of us are still peeing in a cup. Many of us are trying to bail our kid out who got popped for a small amount of marijuana. I mean, the impact of the drug war has been catastrophic on families in America. And I'm not talking about the evils of marijuana. I'm talking about the evils of prohibition. I'm talking about the evils of allowing people to go to jail because of some conservative sensibilities, and now a new industry that is dependent on filling up jail cells with nonviolent offenders. Those nonviolent offenders are too expensive to keep out in the workforce because there's redundant work. They're redundant workers. They aren't of any value. But behind bars, they're worth a cool 40 or 50 grand a year. So what do we do with this? Do we just sit there and say it's bad conservative media for finding out that Malia smoked the J? Or do we make it a big issue to say, hey, what about the rest of us? What about our kids? Why are they in jail? Why are they having to put a check in the box? Why are they having to pee in the cup? I don't know, folks. These are questions you're going to have to answer yourself. I know for me, I don't have a problem with her smoking weed. She can smoke it all day long. Heck, she could grow it in the White House and it wouldn't bother me. What bothers me is that he's still got his thumb on the justice scales, allowing people to go to jail for what his daughter just did, what he did for a long, long time, and what he may still do, what Gary Johnson says he does, and what millions of Americans can do legally at any number of states. It's time for us to legalize marijuana. It's time to get rid of the disparity. Call it a 14th Amendment issue. I don't care. But whatever it is, prohibition and the drug war have hurt more Americans than it has ever helped. And it has disproportionately hurt the poorest of our Americans and African Americans, like Malia, except they don't have the President of the United States as their father. This is Steve Grumbine with Real Progressives, hoping you fire up a legal doobie soon in your lifetime.